It was a quiet Wednesday night in the small town of Denton, Texas. The streets were calm, the air still. At exactly 11:48 p.m., a 911 call came through. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher asked. There's someone in my house, the woman whispered, panic in her voice. I think it's a burglar. I heard footsteps in the basement. Ma'am, please stay on the line. Can you tell me your name and address? My name is Emily Carson, 246 Pine Street. Please hurry, she said, her voice trembling. The line went quiet for a second. Then a faint creak echoed through the phone. Emily gasped. I heard it again, she whispered. Oh God, please don't let them hurt me. Officers Nathan Riley and Carla Jennings were the first on the scene. Guns drawn, they entered the two-story house. It was neat, clean, almost too perfect. The smell of lavender candles filled the air. Emily was waiting by the front door in a white robe, clutching her phone. Her hands shook, her eyes wide. Ma'am, you said you heard someone in the basement? Officer Riley asked. Yes, I don't know who. My husband is out of town. I live alone most days, she explained. I swear I heard footsteps. Something moved down there. The officers nodded and made their way down the wooden stairs into the basement. It was dimly lit, the air thick and musty. Boxes were stacked against the wall. A broken washing machine sat in the corner. Then Officer Jennings spotted something odd. A wooden plank on the floor was loose. She stepped on it, and it creaked. Riley knelt down, pulled at the board, and it came up easily. Beneath it was a crawl space. Using his flashlight, he peered inside. Jesus Christ, he muttered. There, curled in the small space, was a human skeleton. Torn, rotted clothes clung to the bones. Dust and time had nearly swallowed the body whole. Jennings gasped. Is that? Looks like it's been there for years. The body was pulled out carefully. Forensics and crime scene units were called in. Emily stood frozen at the top of the stairs, watching the scene unfold in horror. I don't understand, she whispered. Who is that? By the next morning, the forensics team ran a dental match. The body was identified as Daniel Carson, Emily's husband, who had been reported missing 10 years ago. The case had long gone cold. No leads, no evidence. He had vanished one summer day in 2015 after telling friends he was going on a solo hiking trip. But now he was found, beneath his own basement. The police chief immediately called in someone special, retired homicide detective James Banner. Known for his sharp instincts and attention to detail, Banner had solved some of Texas's most difficult cases. He was graying now, walked with a cane, and mostly spent his time fishing. But when the chief told him the case details, his curiosity flared. How does a man go missing for 10 years and turn up dead under his own house, he said. I'll take a look. And just like that, the town of Denton had a new mystery, and a quiet woman with a dark basement had the eyes of the law upon her. The next morning, Detective James Banner drove up to 246 Pine Street in his old silver pickup. The house looked just like he expected. Neatly painted, flower pots on the porch, wind chimes dancing in the breeze. Nothing about it screamed murder. But Banner knew better. He was greeted by Officer Riley. Glad you're here, sir. This one's strange. The body was buried deep in the basement. Clothes were rotted. Cause of death is still undetermined, but it looks like blunt force trauma to the skull. Coroner's still doing tests. Banner nodded and entered the house. Emily Carson was sitting on the couch with a cup of tea in her hand. She looked pale but calm. Too calm. She was in her mid-30s, slim, with long auburn hair tied in a loose ponytail. Mrs. Carson, Banner said, tipping his hat slightly. I'm Detective James Banner. I'll be asking a few questions if you don't mind. Emily nodded. Of course. I want to help. I'm just as shocked as everyone. He sat down across from her. I heard you called 911 about a burglar. Yes, she said. I was in bed. I heard noises coming from the basement. It scared me. I thought someone had broken in. I had no idea. She trailed off, her voice breaking. Banner studied her. Your husband was found under the basement. How did you not notice anything for 10 years? I didn't go down there often, she replied. The basement was mostly used for storage. After Daniel disappeared, I moved most of my things upstairs. It was too painful to go down there. Tell me about the day he went missing, Banner said, voice low and steady. It was a Saturday. He said he was going hiking at Caddo Lake. He liked to go alone sometimes. I thought nothing of it. When he didn't come home that night, I got worried. By Sunday morning, I called the police. They searched but found nothing. Banner jotted notes. Did Daniel have enemies? She shook her head. Not that I know of. He was a school teacher. Quiet, kind. Everyone liked him. Banner's eyes scanned the room. Did you have the basement checked back then? I think so, she replied slowly. I don't remember every detail from 10 years ago. The police said there was no sign of foul play. He stood. Would you mind if I took a walk through the house myself? Go ahead, she said, her hands tightening on her teacup. Banner walked through the house. Everything was tidy, well organized. The kitchen sparkled. The bedroom was simple. No sign of struggle, no signs of hoarding or clutter. Down in the basement, he looked at the crawl space where Daniel's body had been hidden. It was narrow and dark. Someone had to know exactly where to place him so he wouldn't be found. He spotted something behind an old cabinet. Moving it aside, he found a small wooden box, dusty with rusted hinges. Inside were photographs, letters, and something else. A wedding ring. Daniel's initials were engraved inside. Banner's brow furrowed. So she had the ring all this time? He muttered. He placed the items in an evidence bag and continued searching. He took photos of the area, measured the crawl space, and made a mental note. The floor had been resealed. Someone had repaired the wood planks. Recently. Back upstairs, Emily was sipping tea again. Did you ever remodel the basement? He asked. Just once. 2 years ago. Had someone patched the floor? There were termites, she said casually. Do you remember the name of the contractor? I'm not sure. I'd have to check my files. He gave her a slow nod. Please do. As he stepped outside, Banner pulled out his phone and called the Denton Police Records Office. Hey, it's Banner. Pull the missing person file on Daniel Carson. I want every statement, every report, especially Emily's, and check for any contractors she hired in the last 5 years. Something wasn't right. The timeline was too clean. The emotions too neat. As he lit a cigarette, he whispered to himself, wives cry, widows weep, but only killers bury bones in their basement. The Denton Police Department faxed over the old files by noon. Detective Banner sat in his home office, a mug of black coffee by his side, and began combing through the 10-year-old paperwork. Daniel Carson had been reported missing on July 15, 2015. Emily had made the call the next day, claiming he'd left for a solo hike at Caddo Lake and never returned. The search effort had lasted 2 weeks, involving local rangers, dogs, even a few volunteers. Nothing had turned up. What struck Banner immediately was the original interview transcript. Emily had told the police back then that Daniel left at 8 a.m., kissed her goodbye, and packed a small backpack with water and snacks. She said she never saw him again, but something didn't sit right. In her interview, she'd said, he left with his wedding ring on. He never took it off. Now that ring was in a box behind the basement cabinet. Banner's thoughts, either she was lying then, or someone took it off after he died. Later that afternoon, Banner visited Denton Hardware and Renovation, a small store in town. He asked about local contractors who might have worked on homes on Pine Street. The store manager flipped through records and found an invoice under Emily Carson's name from 2 years ago. Here it is, the manager said. She ordered floor sealant, insulation, some wood panels, paid in cash. No name listed for the worker, but she picked everything up herself. So she lied. There was no contractor. Banner left and drove straight to 246 Pine Street again. This time, Emily greeted him in jeans and a t-shirt. No tea, no robe. Her eyes looked more alert. Detective, did you find anything? She asked. I have a few more questions, if you don't mind, Banner said, stepping inside. They sat across from each other in the living room. You mentioned hiring a contractor for termite damage. Turns out you purchased the materials yourself. Want to explain that? She blinked. I meant I bought the supplies, but someone else did the work. Who? I don't remember his name. Just a handyman from Craigslist. It was a long time ago. Banner leaned forward. You're lying, Mrs. Carson. You sealed the floor yourself. And that ring I found downstairs? You said Daniel never took it off, but it was buried with his things. Why was it in your possession? Emily stood up quickly. I think you should leave. I've been through enough. Banner stood too, calm but firm. I'm not here to play games. Your husband was murdered, and I believe the killer is still in this house, either in your past or your reflection. Emily's face hardened. You think I killed. Daniel, I think you're hiding something. Maybe it wasn't you who swung the hammer, but you know who did, and I'll find out. That night, Banner returned to his office and reviewed the crime scene photos again. He zoomed in on the back of Daniel's skull. The fracture was clean, narrow. A hammer, number more like a crowbar. Banner made a list. Emily lied about the contractor. She had Daniel's ring. She didn't report a break-in, just noises. The floor was sealed by her, and then something jumped out at him. In one of the basement photos, above the crawl space, there was a faint red smear on the back wall, barely visible. He zoomed in. Blood. Banner grabbed his coat and headed to the lab. He needed that wall swabbed. If it was Daniel's blood, it meant he was killed there, not on a hiking trip. The lab tech worked fast. Within an hour, she returned with the results. It's a match. Daniel Carson's blood, she said. That confirmed it. Daniel was murdered in that basement, and someone had sealed up his body with care. Back in his truck, Banner called the chief. It's no longer a missing person case. It's homicide, and I've got a suspect. As he hung up, a memory hit him, something Emily said during her first interview in 2015. Daniel had secrets. I just wish I knew what they were. Banner whispered to himself, maybe that's the real reason he ended up buried. Maybe the secret was never his to begin with. Detective Banner returned to 246 Pine Street the next morning, this time with a warrant. Two uniformed officers followed him closely. Emily Carson opened the door, wearing a cardigan and slippers, her eyes tired, red around the edges. What's this? She asked as Banner handed her the warrant. We're conducting a full search, Mrs. Carson. You are not under arrest, but we ask that you remain in the home until further notice. She backed away, arms folded tightly. Fine. The officers spread out while Banner headed upstairs to the attic. He'd already searched the basement. Now it was time to look up. The attic door creaked open. Dust swirled as he climbed up the narrow steps. Boxes were piled along the wooden floor, labeled winter clothes, Christmas, Daniel stuff. He opened that last one. Inside were old yearbooks, a pocket knife, and a stack of letters. They weren't addressed to Emily. They were from someone named Grace Langdon. Banner pulled one from the top and read aloud, Daniel, I can't keep sneaking around like this. I thought we agreed you'd tell her. I want to be with you openly. I'm tired of being your secret. He checked the envelope. It was postmarked just 2 weeks before Daniel's disappearance. Grace Langdon. The name didn't appear in any of the earlier reports. Banner made a note and searched the rest of the attic. Tucked into a corner, he found a photo album. Emily and Daniel's wedding photos. But someone had ripped out several pages. Torn edges still stuck to the spine. Back downstairs, Banner found Emily in the kitchen. Who is Grace Langdon? He asked. Her shoulders tensed. What? You heard me. You never mentioned her in the original report. I don't know who that is. He held up the letter. She wrote Daniel often. From the looks of it, they were in a relationship. Maybe he was planning to leave you. Emily's hands trembled as she poured coffee. Daniel and I had problems, yes. He changed near the end, became distant, but I didn't know about any affair. I find that hard to believe. You think I killed him because of a mistress? I think something happened in this house 10 years ago that you've tried to forget, Banner said. And I think it's time you stop pretending. Emily stared at him, eyes wide. I didn't kill Daniel, she whispered. But maybe I know who did. Banner leaned in. Go on. She hesitated, then slowly spoke. There was someone who hated Daniel. My sister, Mallory. Your sister? She wasn't in any of the statements. I never brought her up. We weren't close anymore. She stayed with us for a few weeks that summer, before Daniel vanished. They fought a lot. He accused her of stealing from us. Things got ugly. She moved out the same week. And you didn't think to mention that when your husband went missing? Emily looked down. I didn't think it mattered. And I didn't want to ruin my sister's life if she had nothing to do with it. Banner's mind raced. Where is Mallory now? She moved to Austin, I think. We haven't spoken in years. Banner stood up. I'm going to find her. As he walked toward the door, Emily called out, Detective? He turned. If Mallory did it, why would she hide the body in my house? Banner stared at her. Good question. One we're about to find out. Next steps. Locate and interview Grace Langdon. Locate Mallory Green for questioning. Determine if there was a third party with motive. Detective Banner knew two things. Daniel wasn't the man everyone thought he was. One woman might be lying, but two women. That meant a web of secrets was starting to untangle. Detective Banner hit the road by 9 a.m., bound for Jefferson, Texas. The small town was quiet, its streets lined with antique shops and weathered diners. He pulled up in front of a red brick duplex at 192 Maple Drive. The mailbox still bore the name G. Langdon. He knocked twice. A woman in her early 40s opened the door. She had sharp cheekbones, tired eyes, and a cautious stance. Grace Langdon? Banner asked, showing his badge. Yes, can I help you? I'm investigating the disappearance and death of Daniel Carson. Grace's face went pale. She opened the door wider. I always knew this day would come. Come in. Inside, the house was neatly kept, filled with plants and books. She motioned for him to sit. Tell me what happened between you and Daniel, Banner said, getting straight to it. Grace exhaled deeply. We were in love. We met at a school conference. I didn't know he was married until a month in. When I found out, I told him to end it. He promised he would. Said Emily was cold, distant. Said their marriage was dead. Did he ever mention planning to leave Emily? Yes, she said. In fact, the day before he disappeared, he called me and said he had told her. He sounded nervous. Said she didn't take it well. Did you ever speak to Emily? Number one wanted to. I even drove to their house once, but I lost my nerve. You said he called you the day before he disappeared, Banner asked. Yes, July 14th, 2015. Banner took notes. Did he sound like he was in danger? No, but he was anxious, like something wasn't right. He told me he'd be in touch soon. Then he vanished. Grace looked down, then added softly, I called the Denton police back then. They said he went missing during a hike. I knew that wasn't true. Daniel hated hiking. Banner looked up sharply. He did? Loathed it. Said it was boring. Banner's mind clicked again. Emily's statement had said Daniel left for a hike. Yet another lie. Thank you, Miss Langdon. If I need more, I'll reach out. As Banner drove away, one thing was clear. Emily's story about Daniel hiking was false, and she knew it. Next stop, Austin, to find Mallory Green. Mallory Green lived in a rented apartment above a coffee shop. She greeted Banner in a rush, wearing paint-splattered jeans and holding a brush in one hand. You're the cop Emily called about? She asked. She didn't call me. I found you myself. She frowned. What's this about? Daniel Carson, you stayed with him and Emily shortly before he disappeared. Mallory sighed and motioned him in. I was broke back then. Emily let me crash on the couch. Daniel didn't like it. Why? He didn't trust me, said I was freeloading. He was right. I took cash from his wallet once. He caught me and threatened to throw me out. Did you two argue? Big time, she said. But I left before he disappeared. July 12th, 2 days earlier. I packed my stuff and walked out. Didn't even say goodbye to Emily. Did Daniel ever say anything strange? Not to me. But Emily, she was off. Quiet. Scared even. Scared of Daniel? Yeah, he was controlling. She didn't talk about it, but I saw it. She'd flinch when he got loud. And once when I joked about Grace, the other woman, Emily went cold. She knew. She definitely knew. Banner narrowed his eyes. You mentioned Grace to her? Yeah, I was being a brat. Said something like, hope Grace is prettier than you. She didn't say a word, just stared at the wall. Did you notice anything odd before you left? Mallory paused. The night before I left, I heard them fighting, around midnight. I only caught bits, but I remember Daniel shouting, "You think you can just take it all from me?" And she said something like, "You brought this on yourself." That was July 11th. Daniel was reported missing 4 days later. Mallory shook her head. "I know I'm no saint, but if you're asking me if I killed him, no way. I hated the guy, but not enough for that." Banner stood up. "Thanks, Mallory. You've been helpful." Back in Denton that night, Banner reviewed everything. Grace confirms Daniel never hiked. Emily claimed he went hiking. Clear fabrication. Daniel was planning to leave her. Emily sealed the floor herself. Daniel's blood was found in the basement. Emily was lying. But Mallory, who had motive and opportunity, had already left by the time of the murder. Unless Banner picked up the photo of the sealed floor again. Something bugged him. He zoomed in on the top right corner of the image, a small white speck, like part of a label. He enhanced the image, a paint can, and on it the words, "Winter Gray, Interior Finish, July 15th, 2015. Daniel disappeared on July 15th. Emily sealed the floor that very day. She hadn't waited. She sealed the floor immediately after the murder. And suddenly Banner realized. Emily never reported Daniel missing because she was concerned. She reported him missing to hide the fact that she'd already buried him. Detective Banner stood in his office, walls covered with pinned evidence. Strings connected photos of Daniel Carson, Emily, Grace Langdon, and Mallory Green. The timeline was tightening. The paint can photo was the final crack in Emily's story. She had said Daniel left for a hike on July 15th. Yet the sealant used on the basement floor was manufactured that same day, meaning Emily had bought and used it within hours. That didn't happen if someone was simply missing. That happened if someone was already dead. It was time to bring Emily in. Emily sat across from Banner, fidgeting with her wedding ring. "You called me in without saying why," she said. Banner placed the photo of the sealed basement in front of her. "Recognize this?" She blinked. "That's our basement floor." He added the enhanced image showing the paint can's label. "Winter Gray, Interior Finish, July 15th, 2015. I don't understand." "Yes, you do," Banner said calmly. "This is the exact product used to seal the floor where Daniel's body was found. Same brand, same tone, same date." She looked away. "You sealed that floor the very day he disappeared. That wasn't worry, Emily. That was cleanup." She shook her head. I didn't kill him. You didn't wait days to report him missing. You waited hours. You called that night. That was never about finding him. It was about getting ahead of the story." Emily was silent. "We found letters from Grace Langdon. She says Daniel was planning to leave you. You said you didn't know about her, but your sister told me you did, that you froze up when she joked about it." Still no response. "We also found signs Daniel was controlling, verbally abusive. Grace and Mallory both say he had a temper." Emily looked down at her hands. "Emily," Banner leaned forward, "was it self-defense?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I didn't plan it," she whispered. "I didn't mean to kill him." Banner's voice softened. "Tell me what happened." Daniel stormed into the kitchen, slamming Grace's letter on the counter. "You read my mail now? You lied to me, Daniel. You were going to leave me for her. She loves me, Emily. At least she doesn't treat me like I'm nothing. I gave you everything. My time, my youth." "You're pathetic," he snapped. "That's why I'm leaving." Emily grabbed the first thing she could, a glass vase. She raised it as he stepped toward her. "Put that down. Don't come closer. You think I won't call the cops? Say you attacked me?" He laughed. "I should have let you walk out the door. You'll be nothing without me." He lunged. She swung. The vase shattered against his temple. He staggered back, slipped, hit his head again on the edge of the counter, and crumpled to the floor, motionless. Blood pooled beneath him. She fell to her knees. "Daniel?" No response. Emily stared at him for what felt like hours. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just went cold. That night, she dragged his body to the basement, covered him with plastic. The next morning, she drove to Home Depot and bought sealant. By noon, Daniel was beneath concrete. By 6 p.m., she called 911, back in the interview room. "I was scared," Emily whispered. "He hit me once before. That night, I thought he'd kill me. Why didn't you call the police? He was respected, charming. No one would have believed me. I'd have lost everything." Banner sat back. He'd heard stories like this before. Quiet women with loud husbands. Secrets tucked behind smiles. "You understand you'll be arrested," he said gently. She nodded, tears falling now. "I buried my past, but it never left." Emily Carson struck Daniel Carson during a domestic altercation. The act, while not premeditated, resulted in his death. Her subsequent concealment of the body and false report delayed justice by 10 years. Detective M. Banner case status. Closed. That night, Banner walked out into the warm Texas air. The stars were sharp above. Another case closed, but not without scars. Some homes aren't haunted by ghosts. They're haunted by secrets buried just beneath the floor. It had been 2 weeks since Emily Carson's quiet confession had shaken Denton to its core. Reporters swarmed the courthouse. Headlines read, "Wife confesses to husband's death. 10 years later. Buried truth beneath the basement." But for Detective Mark Banner, it wasn't about the press. It was about closing a circle. Still, something didn't sit right. Emily had confessed, yes. She admitted to striking Daniel. But Banner knew a scene of violence when he saw one. And something about that basement still nagged at him. So he returned. With a fresh warrant, Banner and a forensic team dug deeper, literally. They lifted the floor entirely this time, removing every inch of concrete. That's when they found it. 2 blood patterns. 2 different types of trauma. The vase hit was real, but another strike, more forceful, more direct, left a fracture in the back of Daniel's skull inconsistent with a fall. Then they found the fire poker, hidden in the crawl space behind the furnace. Dried blood, a single hair stuck to it. Emily hadn't mentioned it in her statement. Why? Banner stared across at Emily, a copy of the forensic report in his hands. "You lied to me, Emily." Her eyes darted. What? What do you mean?" "We found the poker. Daniel was hit twice, once by the vase, once by something else. Harder. From behind." Emily paled. "You didn't tell me about that second blow. Did you forget? Or did you think it didn't matter?" "I only hit him once," she whispered. "I swear." Banner slid a photo across the table, a shot of the fire poker. "That was Grace's," Emily said faintly. "She bought it as a gift one Christmas." "Funny," Banner said, "because we checked Grace Langdon's financials. She bought that poker on July 14th, 2015, the day before Daniel's death." Emily blinked. "Wait, she was here the night before. She showed up unannounced, said she was done playing games, that she wanted him to leave me that night." Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. "I didn't know she bought that." Banner leaned back. "Emily, I think you hit him once. Then Grace came back after you left the room. She saw he was still breathing, and she finished the job." Flashback, July 15th, 2015, late evening. Emily sat on the stairs shaking, the shattered vase beside her. Daniel was on the floor, breathing, shallow, moaning. Grace knocked once, then let herself in. She found Emily crying. "He was going to leave me," Emily whispered. "He threatened me. I hit him. I think I killed him." Grace knelt by Daniel. His eyes fluttered open. "You'll never have her," he slurred. "You think she loves you? Pathetic." Something inside Grace snapped. She reached for the fire poker. One brutal swing. Daniel stopped breathing. Emily screamed, "What did you do?" Grace looked up. "What you couldn't?" Then coldly, "We'll fix this. Together." May 21st, 2025. Denton Courthouse. With this new evidence, Banner reopened the investigation. Grace Langdon was arrested that morning at her art studio in Austin. She didn't resist. Her only words, "I didn't kill him for Emily. I killed him for me." She confessed to the final blow, said she'd never forgive herself, but also said she'd never let Daniel live to ruin another woman. Conclusion. Initial statement misrepresented the fatal sequence. Forensic evidence revealed a second actor, Grace Langdon, who delivered the lethal blow. Emily Carson's initial assault was non-lethal. Cover-up was mutual. Detective M. Banner case. Status: fully resolved. 1 week later, Emily's letter to Detective Banner. Detective Banner, I still wake up thinking Daniel is in the next room, that he'll ask for his coffee, turn on the news, criticize my outfit. Then I remember, he's gone, and I am finally free. You didn't just solve a case. You gave me back my name, even if it's written in court files now. Thank you for listening, for seeing past the paint on the floor. I hope the next person you save doesn't wait 10 years. Emily. Detective Banner folded the letter and tucked it into his drawer. Some murders are loud. Some come with screams, flashing lights and running feet. Others are quiet, buried under concrete, hidden behind grief, covered in gray paint. But eventually the truth claws its way to the surface, just like a ghost in the walls.